the Roaring Twenties, a time of jazz, dance, and celebration. But beneath the glitz and glamour, darker tales were unfolding. Let's journey back to the 1920s, a decade that roared with change. A time when the world was spinning faster, caught in the rhythm of jazz, the swirl of flapper dresses, and the thrill of newfound freedoms. Canada was no exception to this global whirlwind of transformation. This was a decade that witnessed the rise of radio and cinema, the proliferation of automobiles, and the dawn of women's suffrage. The country was alive with the spirit of progress, and every street corner buzzed with life. But as the music filled the night and laughter echoed through the streets, a different narrative was being written, one that lay hidden beneath the surface of all the celebration. In the shadows, tales of crime were unfolding, tales that were as captivating as they were chilling. These were stories of intrigue, suspense, and mystery, stories that would leave an indelible mark on the nation's history. These were the stories that would shape Canada's criminal landscape for decades to come. From the bustling streets of Vancouver to the quiet corners of Toronto, from the plush homes of the rich to the dimly lit alleys of the poor, crime was weaving its own narrative. It was a narrative that was as diverse as the country itself, encompassing everything from petty thefts and bootlegging operations to high-profile murders and organized crime. These stories, these criminal case files, offer us a unique window into the past. They reveal a side of the 1920s that is often overlooked, a side that is as intriguing as it is unsettling. And as we delve deeper into these tales, we begin to see a reflection of the society of the time, a society that was grappling with change and struggling to uphold justice in a rapidly changing world. But as the music played and the streets buzzed with life, darker tales were unfolding, tales that would leave an indelible mark on the nation's history. And as we journey into the next scenes, we will uncover these tales one by one, peeling back the layers of the past to reveal the mysteries that lie beneath. In the heart of Vancouver, 1924, a mystery began to unravel. A young woman, Janet Kennedy Smith, was found lifeless in the basement of a prominent household. Originally from Perth, Scotland, the 22-year-old nursemaid had been employed by the Bakers, a wealthy family residing in the Canadian city. The grim discovery of her body, with a bullet wound through the temple and a .45 caliber revolver nearby, initially led investigators to rule her death as an accident. But this was only the beginning of what would become one of Canada's most notorious unsolved mysteries. As the investigation advanced, attention turned to another servant within the Baker household. Wong Fun Sing, a Chinese immigrant, found himself under the heavy gaze of suspicion. The media, always hungry for a scandal, was quick to jump on the story. Headlines screamed of murder and betrayal, with Wong portrayed as the villain. He faced immense scrutiny, and the racial tension that had been simmering beneath the surface Vancouver society began to bubble over. The plot thickened further in 1925. Wong was abducted, held and subjected to weeks of torture by men cloaked in Ku Klux Klan robes. These men, alleged to be the local law enforcement and high-ranking politicians of Scottish descent, were desperate for a confession. Despite the unimaginable ordeal, Wong maintained his innocence. In a dramatic turn, Janet Smith's death was later ruled as a homicide, contradicting the initial findings. This declaration, however, did little to clear the cloud of suspicion hanging over Wong. His life, much like the city he called home, would forever be scarred by the tragic event. The case remains one of Canada's unsolved mysteries. The story of Janet Smith and Wong Fun Sing serves as a chilling reminder of the racial tensions and injustices that were prevalent during the Roaring Twenties, a time when beneath the jazz and celebration, darker tales were unfolding. Meanwhile, on the East Coast, Besha Starkman, known to many as Bessie, emerged as Canada's first high-profile female crime boss during the Prohibition era. Born in Poland and raised in the gritty streets of Detroit, Starkman migrated to Canada in the early 1900s. She was a woman of ambition, resilience, and cunning, carving out a place for herself in the male-dominated world of organized crime. Starkman, alongside her common-law spouse, the notorious Italian mobster Rocco Perri, built an empire on bootlegging and narcotics during the Prohibition era. Their enterprise was a well-oiled machine, smuggling alcohol from Canada into the United States, and raking in profits that would rival those of today's Fortune 500 companies. Starkman was more than a mere sidekick. She was the brains behind the operation, managing the finances, smoothing over disputes, and keeping the law at bay. Her business acumen was unparalleled, her strategies innovative, yet despite her notoriety, she was a woman of contradictions. Known for her charity, she aided those in need and earned respect within her community. However, life at the top of the underworld was fraught with danger. Power had propelled Starkman to the top, but also made her a prime target. In August of 1930, she met a brutal end, gunned down in her Hamilton home, a crime that sent shockwaves through the nation. The investigation into her murder was convoluted with numerous suspects and abundant motives, but the truth remained elusive, leaving chilling, unsolved mystery in the annals of Canadian crime history. Her death marked the end of an era. The empire she had built with Rocco Peri Peri started to fall apart, and the underworld she once ruled was thrown into chaos. Even in death, Starkman's influence was undeniable. Her funeral was attended by thousands, making it one of the largest in city's history, a testament to her power, charisma, and the indelible mark she left on the world. The 1920s was a pivotal decade for crime solving. The Royal Northwest Mounted Police, known today the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, were leading the charge, pioneering new methods. Picture a time before DNA analysis or facial recognition technology. An exciting development was making waves in the world of forensic science: fingerprinting. The unique patterns on our fingertips, as individual as snowflakes, were proving invaluable in linking suspects to crime scenes. The Royal Northwest Mounted Police were also learning to read the silent witnesses at a scene: the footprints, the tire tracks, the cigarette stubs. Each piece of evidence, no matter how small, could be the key to unlocking a mystery. The police were becoming more adept at psychological profiling, a technique that would later become a cornerstone of modern crime solving. This involved building a portrait of the potential perpetrator based on the traits exhibited in their crimes. An art as much as a science, it was still in its infancy. There were challenges. Not every detective was ready to embrace these new methods, and there was a learning curve involved. Plus, these techniques were not always foolproof. Fingerprints could be smudged, witnesses could be unreliable, and criminals were becoming savvier. Indeed, this was a decade of transformation. The tools and techniques that forged their path then have continued to evolve, giving shape to the crime-solving world as we know it today. However, with evolving techniques came challenges, leaving many mysteries unsolved. The media was a window into the crimes of the era, painting vivid pictures of the grisly scenes, the daring criminals, the relentless detectives. Sensational headlines and dramatic recounts fed a nation hungry for stories. Each twist and turn of a case was a headline, every lead a tantalizing clue for the armchair sleuths. As these stories unfolded, they sparked a collective demand for justice. The Janet Smith case, for instance, was a stark reminder of the racial prejudice in society. The public outcry over her death and the wrongful accusation of Wong Foon Sing sparked debates about racial justice. In contrast, the rise and fall of Besha Starkman stirred conversations about gender roles and power dynamics in the criminal world. Starkman's notorious life and untimely death were as much a part of the public discourse as they were a part of Canada's criminal history. The media's portrayal of these crimes wasn't just about sensationalism. It was a mirror reflecting social and cultural realities of the era, revealing society's biases, fears, and thirst for justice. Despite the media's role in shaping public opinion, it faced scrutiny. Sensationalized reporting, the rush for exclusives, the lack of objectivity, these were criticisms that led to calls for responsible journalism. The demand for justice wasn't merely about solving crimes, but about demanding accountability from institutions, pushing for societal change. Public debates raged, calls for reforms grew louder, and law enforcement agencies found themselves under scrutiny. The 1920s was a period marked by stark contrasts. As it drew to a close, Canada was on the threshold of a new era, with new stories to share. This was a time of considerable change and celebration, tinged with darkness and mystery. As jazz filled the air and the streets teemed with life, clandestine tales were taking shape, leaving an indelible mark on the nation's history. The era witnessed the evolution of crime-solving techniques, with fingerprints emerging as a critical tool and detectives meticulously examining crime scenes. Yet, despite these advancements, numerous mysteries from this period remain unsolved, their secrets ensconced in the past. The media served as the conduit for the public to witness these enthralling crime narratives, with sensational headlines and dramatic recounts whetting the appetite of a nation eager for suspense and intrigue. Public debates ensued, calls for justice reforms amplified, and law enforcement agencies found themselves under scrutiny. However, it is essential to remember that these were not simply stories, but real events involving real individuals. They were narratives of human tragedy, of altered lives, and of a society wrestling with change. As the 1920s concluded, Canada was on the brink of a new era promising to be equally tumultuous and transformative. Stories of intrigue, scandal, mystery, and the human spirit have echoed through time from this period. We now invite you to join us on this journey through time, to delve deeper into the narratives that have defined Canada's criminal history, to uncover past secrets and explore the stories that continue to resonate today. Join us next time as we delve into the 1930s, exploring deeper into Canada's intriguing criminal past.